My fiancé told me to apologize after his mom disinvited me from our own party, so I hijacked it. He said, "Let's talk after the party." I said, "See you there." What followed was champagne, a slideshow of petty receipts, and the quietest mic drop in engagement history. Before we get started, hit that subscribe button so you won't miss new stories, and drop a comment to tell us where you're watching from. Hi, I'm Nora, 28. And last Thursday I got uninvited from my own engagement party by my fiancé's mother. It started with a cake, a stupid, overpriced 4-tier fondant-covered monstrosity with gold leaf and edible roses. I hadn't even ordered it. His mom did. But somehow, when I asked if we could swap it for something simpler, read sane, she tilted her head and said, "Maybe you're not cut out for this family." I laughed. I actually laughed. Like she'd told a joke at brunch. She didn't. Instead, she walked into the kitchen, pulled out her phone, and within seconds, the entire family group chat, his family, not mine, lit up with her passive-aggressive wrath. Nora doesn't want the cake, or the party. So, I guess we'll celebrate without her. I thought it was a bluff. A classic monster-in-law overstep that we'd laugh about later. I even texted Alex, my fiancé, thinking he'd rein her in. He didn't. Instead, he called and said, "Maybe you should apologize. She's really hurt." "She's hurt? She disinvited me from my own party." "She's just under a lot of stress," he said. I stared at the phone like it had grown the teeth. "She's not the one marrying you. I am." He was quiet, and in that silence, something inside me snapped like a dry twig. The next morning, the invitations were updated. Party's still on. Same date, same location. But under the host names, they'd removed mine entirely. And Alex? He just texted, "Let's talk after the party. It'll be easier when things cool down." I didn't reply. I packed a bag. And then I did something no one saw coming, not even me. I drove straight to my sister's apartment. No warning, no shoes, just fury, adrenaline, and a duffel bag stuffed with every breakup hoodie I'd forgotten I still owned. She opened the door mid-sip of wine and blinked. "Okay," she said. "Who do I have to punch?" I collapsed onto her couch and told her everything. The cake, the texts, the phone call where my own fiancé defended his mother over me. Her eyes widened with every sentence. "Wait," she said. "You're telling me you've been planning this party for months, paid for the venue, designed your own invitations, and they just erased you from your own engagement like a bad typo?" I nodded. "And he said to apologize?" I nodded again. She leaned back, sipped her wine, and said, "Burn it down." Now, my sister is not normally a chaos goblin. She's a teacher. She recycles. She makes her own granola. But something about my story flipped a switch in her soul. So we plotted. We stayed up until 2 a.m. rewriting the guest list. Mine this time. I sent out private texts to my people, college friends, co-workers, cousins, people who liked me for me, and not because I was dating a guy with a country club membership and a mother who thought she was casting a Jane Austen remake. I didn't tell anyone the full plan yet. Just, hey, slight change. Party's still on, but I'm hosting a pre-party. I called it the Reclamation Brunch. And on the morning of the engagement party I was allegedly not invited to, I showed up to that brunch in a white pantsuit that screamed, "I am the bride, and I'm also one court hearing away from representing myself." We laughed. We cried. We took selfies with mimosas and wrote fake vows to ourselves. Mine started with, "I promise to never let a man with a spine made of pudding stand between me and my self-worth." By 1 p.m. I had a full face of glam, 40 supportive humans behind me, and a backup plan that made even my sister go, "Okay, you're terrifying." Because if they thought I was staying silent while they threw a party in my name without me, they were about to learn exactly who they messed with. The venue was a rented garden terrace attached to a hotel downtown. Marble floors, string lights, overpriced catering, and enough orchids to make a funeral director nervous. I walked in, flanked by my Reclamation Brunch crew. looking like a Vogue editorial gone rogue. And here's the kicker. I wasn't even late. I was exactly on time. They were early. The second I stepped through those glass doors, the room shifted. Conversations paused. Silverware froze midair. Alex's mom dropped a canapé onto the carpet like I'd slapped it out of her hand. I didn't say a word. I just smiled. Alex was by the bar, wearing that too-tight blazer he always swore made him look presidential. He saw me, blinked like I was a ghost, and then started walking over with this nervous, twitchy smile, like maybe I was here to forgive everyone and give a speech about love. Spoiler, I wasn't. "Nora," he said, arms slightly open like he expected a hug. "What are you doing here?" I cocked my head. "Oh, didn't you hear? I RSVP'd yes." He glanced around the room. This wasn't what we talked about." "No, you talked. I listened," I said. "Big difference." People were staring now. My brunch crew had split up, mingling effortlessly with the confused guests like undercover agents at a gala. One of them handed me a glass of champagne with a wink. I took a sip. "Okay," Alex said, trying to steer me toward a quieter corner. "Maybe we can talk privately." "Sure," I said, "right after the slideshow." He blinked. "Slideshow?" "Oh yes," I said. "Didn't your mom tell you?" I brought my own presentation. He was still stammering when the lights dimmed and the projector screen rolled down. I walked calmly to the mic at the front of the room and tapped it once. "Hi everyone," I said, voice perfectly even. "Thanks so much for coming. I know this event was originally hosted by Alex's family, but I thought I'd take a moment to share something too. Just a few thoughts about what love looks like." I clicked the remote in my hand and the first slide came up. A photo of me and Alex at his cousin's wedding, where I'd been cropped out of every family photo except this one, because I had the gall to wear red. Next slide, a text thread between me and his mom, where I'd asked if I could invite my aunt to the engagement party. Her reply, "Let's keep it intimate. We don't want to overdo it with your side." Slide after slide. Me cleaning up after Thanksgiving while the rest of them drank wine, organizing their Airbnb bookings for family vacations I wasn't invited on. Screenshots of times I offered help, support, kindness, and was met with silence or thinly veiled contempt. The room had gone silent. Even the ice in the cocktail glasses had stopped clinking. Alex was frozen in place, pale as printer paper. His mom looked like she was trying to telekinetically implode the projector with her mind. I finished with one final slide. A photo of my brunch that morning. Me, my friends, my people. Laughing, real smiles, no fake poses. Just joy. "That's what love looks like," I said into the mic. "Not performance, not guilt, not exclusion masked as etiquette. Love shows up, loves out loud, and doesn't need to be reminded I exist." I stepped away from the mic to the sound of nothing. No clapping, no gasping. Just stunned silence. Alex finally muttered, This is humiliating." I turned back to him. "No," I said. "You know what's humiliating? Being erased from your own celebration and told to apologize for not liking a cake. That's humiliating. This?" I gestured around the room. "This is accountability." His mother snapped then. "You've made your point. Now leave. This is a private event." I raised an eyebrow. "Actually, I'm still on the contract. My name's still on the lease for the venue. My credit card is still on the deposit. This isn't just your party, Diana. It's mine too. So no, I won't be leaving. But you're welcome to." And then I turned away and walked off, right into the arms of my best friend who handed me another drink. The night was far from over. Here's what no one expects at an engagement party. For the bride to take over the mic, expose the family's passive-aggressive BS, and then casually return to sipping champagne like she didn't just detonate a social grenade. But let me tell you, there is no high like the calm that hits when you finally stop caring about anyone else's approval. After the slideshow, The room split like the Red Sea. On one side, Alex's family, stunned, stiff, and murmuring like they were deciding whether to start a lawsuit or an exorcism. On the other, my crew, laughing, clinking glasses, and pulling out their phones to post "best engagement party ever" on their stories. Alex was still frozen near the bar, like if he stood still long enough, he'd respawn somewhere less terrifying. His mother, Diana, stomped into a corner with one of her sisters and started whisper hissing, shooting glances at me like she could melt my pantsuit with the power of sheer rage. And me, I was radiant, because I'd finally stopped playing the role. I wasn't the nice girl smoothing things over. I wasn't the accommodating fiancé who laughed off slights and swallowed pride like it was wedding cake. I was the woman who just hijacked her own engagement party, and for once, I wasn't afraid of what came next. Unfortunately, Alex still thought he had a shot at saving this disaster. He approached slowly, drink in hand like it was a peace offering. "Okay," he said softly. "You made your point, but you can't seriously think this is helping. You embarrassed everyone." I turned to face him fully. "No, Alex, they embarrassed themselves. I just held up a mirror." He rubbed the back of his neck. Classic guilt move No. 4 in his playbook. "My mom's in tears." I nodded. "She disinvited me from my own party. She should be grateful I didn't show up with a marching band." He opened his mouth to say something, but I cut him off. "Don't! Just don't! I know exactly what this is. You thought I'd do what I always do. Bite my tongue, keep the peace, apologize for making waves when I was the one drowning. Not this time." "Why now?" he asked, eyes actually pleading. "Why like this?" I took a deep breath and smiled. Because I finally realized I was about to marry someone who's afraid of standing up to his mother more than he's afraid of losing me. That one hit. His jaw clenched. But instead of arguing, he just looked tired, defeated. He set down his drink. "So what, you're calling it off?" I didn't answer immediately. I turned toward the crowd. The energy had shifted. A few of my friends had gathered by the speakers and started playing music. Upbeat, defiant, celebratory. A new crowd had formed, dancing in the middle of what used to be their starchy little banquet. My people, my joy. "I don't have to call anything off," I said finally, eyes locked on him. This was never a wedding. It was a merger. And I don't do mergers. He blinked, confused. "Wait, what are you saying?" "I'm saying this party is the closest we'll ever get to forever, Alex. And that's a blessing. For both of us." He stood there like he'd just been hit with a slow-motion breakup. One of those breakups where you know you deserve it, but you still think if you stand real still, the bullet will miss. It didn't. I walked past him, out onto the dance floor, where someone had already started a conga line. My sister saw me and shrieked like she just won a game show. My friends cheered. One of them shouted, "Tenora, the queen of her own damn party." I grabbed a flute of champagne and raised it high. "To freedom," I said, and we danced. Yes, I danced at my own non-engagement party, in the dress I bought for the occasion, with the people who actually showed up for me. Not out of obligation, not out of bloodline, but out of love. The real kind. And somewhere behind me, Alex stood near his crumbling family legacy, watching the woman he could have had if he just had a spine. He didn't follow me. He didn't even try. By the time the party ended, my cheeks hurt from smiling. My inbox was full of messages from random guests saying things like, "That was iconic," and "Best party I've ever been to. Sorry about your ex, but not really." I didn't go home with regret. I went home lighter, alone, and gloriously whole. And that should have been the end. But then Diana, bless her bold, delusional little heart, decided to retaliate. And that, my friends, is where the real fun began. Diana struck at dawn. Not literally, though I wouldn't have been surprised if she rolled up at sunrise with a clipboard and a priest. But it might as well have been. At 6:13 a.m. the morning after the party, I woke up to an email notification so aggressive it buzzed through my phone like a threat. Subject line, Statement of Damages. From Diana, sent directly to me. Attached, a neatly itemized spreadsheet. Oh yes, she used formulas, with a list of every single expense she claimed to have incurred on behalf of the engagement. Examples included $2,300 for her cake order, which, to be clear, I didn't want. $500 for custom floral arrangements, her florist, not mine. $2,400 for the venue deposit, which, fun fact, I actually paid. $275 for emotional labor and distress therapy consultation pre-party. I wish I was joking. She concluded the email with a gracious request for me to reimburse her within 10 business days. Or, and I quote, face the consequences of your behavior through civil channels. Civil channels. Diana was threatening to sue me over a party I was disinvited from for damages that included her own poor life choices and a cake no one even cut into. I stared at the email in stunned silence, half awake in bed with my dog curled next to me, wondering if I had somehow slipped into a parody of my own life. But no, this was real. My ex-almost mother-in-law was trying to invoice me for her bruised ego. So I did what any reasonable person would do. I forwarded the email to my lawyer. Yes, I have a lawyer. Her name's Candace. She wears red glasses, and she once ended a property dispute with a single letter that made 3 grown men cry. Within an hour, Candace responded with a 3-word masterpiece. Oh, we're doing this. Candace drafted a reply so crisp it could have been served with a side of slaw. We declined Diana's statement of damages, politely reminded her that I had receipts and contracts proving I paid the venue deposit, and oh yes, added a lovely little warning that if she continued to harass me or spread misinformation, we would pursue our own claim for defamation and emotional distress. I hit send. 2 hours later, Diana updated her Facebook status too. Some people show their true colors when the spotlight isn't on them. Sad. I didn't respond, but I did change my profile picture to a selfie from the dance floor, mid-laugh, surrounded by my friends. The caption? Spotlight's never been brighter. She wasn't the only one lashing out. By noon, a few flying monkeys, aka distant relatives of Alex who I hadn't spoken to in months, started sliding into my DMs. Hey, I heard what happened. I'm sure it was just a misunderstanding. Maybe don't burn bridges. Can you at least apologize to Alex? He's been really down. He didn't mean for things to go that far. And my personal favorite, if you're not using the dress anymore, can I borrow it for my engagement shoot? That last one came from Alex's cousin, who didn't even RSVP. I didn't reply to any of them, because this wasn't just drama anymore. This was strategy. They were poking at me, trying to see if I'd crack, if I'd backpedal, if I'd regret having the audacity to stand up for myself. And honestly, part of me was tired. Not tired like defeated. Tired like this should not be this hard. I had ended an engagement with a man who let his mother erase me, taken back my voice, held my own party, and defended myself legally. And yet, I was still being painted as the villain. And that's when it hit me. I wasn't the villain. I was the main character in their crumbling story, the one they couldn't control anymore. And that terrified them, because women like me, the ones who walk away, who don't beg to be accepted, who refuse to fund the fantasy, they don't get cast as heroes in families like that. They get rewritten as cautionary tales. But here's the thing, I wasn't going to let them write my ending. So I grabbed my phone, opened notes, and started outlining something I hadn't let myself even imagine before. A new beginning. One that had nothing to do with them. 3 weeks passed. 3 weeks of total silence from Alex. No apology. No attempt to explain. No closure. He just disappeared like a bad decision I returned for store credit. Diana, meanwhile, was waging a quiet social media war, posting passive-aggressive quotes about fake friends and family who forgets loyalty. At one point, she posted a black and white photo of Alex looking solemn with the caption, "My son deserved better." He really did. Just not for me. I was moving on. Slowly, steadily. I'd canceled the joint wedding account and redirected the vendor refunds back to my own card. I donated the dress. I returned the ring. Yes, it was his grandmother's, and no, I didn't feel bad about boxing it up with a sticky note that said, "Try again with someone more obedient." But it wasn't just about severing ties. It was about starting something new. I poured myself into work, booked a solo weekend trip to Maine, and got a dog. A rescue mutt with anxious eyes who followed me from room to room like he couldn't believe someone finally chose him. I named him Harvey. He doesn't judge. He just naps beside me while I read. Every now and then, I'd get a text from someone I hadn't heard from in a while. "Hey, I know things got messy, but I miss you." Or worse, "Your party looked fun. Sorry I didn't stand up for you." I felt stuck. I never responded. Because silence isn't cruelty. It's protection. I used to think boundaries made me selfish. That saying no meant I didn't love hard enough. But now I know better. Love isn't sacrifice without reciprocity. It isn't silencing yourself to make others comfortable. And it sure as hell isn't funding a future where you don't even have a voice. The next time someone asks me what happened, I'll keep it simple. He lost me the moment he let them erase me, and I found myself the moment I decided I was worth more than a cake and a compromise. 6 months later, I was standing on a cliff in Big Sur, ocean below, wind in my face, and Harvey beside me, barking at a seagull like he had a grudge. And for the first time in years, my life was completely, blissfully quiet. Not the awkward, lonely silence I used to fear. Real quiet. The kind that comes when there's no one left trying to guilt you, drain you, or tell you who you're supposed to be. My apartment was mine, small, peaceful, and filled with things I chose. I was saying yes to my own life again. Yes to sleeping in. Yes to traveling. Yes to starting over. And most importantly, yes to being enough without anyone's approval. Then one afternoon, a cream-colored envelope showed up in my mailbox. "Alex and Chloe invite you to join them." I didn't even finish reading it. Chloe, Diana's ideal future daughter-in-law, was the kind of person who called paper straws brave, and meant it. Of course it was her. I didn't RSVP, but I did send a card. No return address. Just one word, in thick black ink. "Congratulations. Let them play perfect. Let them have the photos, the cake, the registry full of towels they won't use." I wasn't part of their show anymore. And honestly, I was never meant to be. I didn't walk away from love. I walked away from a life where I was supposed to shrink to fit someone else's frame. A life where I was valued only when I was useful, and dismissed the moment I stopped being easy. Now, I get to be loud. I get to take up space. I get to laugh hard, sleep in, love freely, and never again ask for permission to exist on my own terms. If I ever get married one day, it'll be to someone who doesn't flinch when I speak up, or disappear when I'm disrespected. Someone who doesn't need their mother to remind them what loyalty is supposed to look like. But for now, it's just me and Harvey, and peace, and it's more than enough. The end.